So calling modern music rubbish is something I would have said back in my I was born in the wrong era days. Yes, I was one of those kids. Leave me alone. But being that we live in a post-TikTok creation society, hearing something new or niche is virtually impossible, since music is more widespread than ever now. And while at first that may seem to be good, it doesn't make things like music quality or even the standards inherently better. But it does create a new, curious, and exploitable group of minds, bringing music that was once obscure and for the socially malformed to a new generation of malformed creators. But being real for a second, I honestly don't have a fully formed opinion of it to say because, as you are soon to learn, I love the old, because I am the oddly specific music reviewer. Modern music isn't really my domain. No, my bed lies in arguably the two most influential decades in rock, the 2000s and the 90s. Modern rock, and to a lesser extent, alternative is rubbish. Now, that's something I feel is a universal truth. Whether it is or not, I don't care. And this is not basing it on any reviews or anything. It just has no discernible sound, you know? Not to mention its relevance, but going back to the point of sound, modern rock just doesn't have a strong enough sound identity or the same cultural influence. Which isn't really something I necessarily care about, but nonetheless is a factor. But it's a sound I feel hasn't really evolved or has been reduced to a shell of itself. That feels like it's meant to pander to a broader audience, all while having no bones or legs to stand on, compared to what its progenitors offer. But that only goes as far as mainstream. I'm gonna say something that's probably gonna make a lot of people mad. Here it goes. The 90s were meh. There, I said it. Or at least I think. I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. I'm a post 9/11 child, but that statement might as well be true. No one really misses the 90s. Maybe. They miss the ideal. More accurately, in my opinion, it's simplicity. But I'm not here to start any wars. I'm just here to speak on the most uncontroversial thing about the 90s, and that's the music. So just like any other mouth breather on this planet, I like music, and though my taste is specific, it's nothing special. So it got me thinking, why not make a video on everyone's favorite format? A list. Basically, this would be a genre-based list, i.e. an album representing the sound as a whole. So sorry, grungies, that means only one of your many sacred cows can be on here, and it might not even be the one you're thinking about, or the genre could not be on here at all. So with that out of the way, let's start some fires with number 15 with grunge. Yeah, I'm starting off this a bit controversial because let me say it. I don't like grunge. I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. I'll listen to it, but if there's something better, I'll play that over it. But it doesn't make it lesser in my eyes. It's just that the sound was a lot less interesting than the other things around it, and arguably more simpler. And yes, while simple doesn't mean something is bad, it does, however, make the sound replicatable. And while those sounds aren't necessarily grunge, you still have to blame the father for the faults of the son. But if you've been paying attention to this video for any amount of time, you've noticed that I'm procrastinating to avoid the inevitable hit that will be placed on my head after I speak these words. So here I'll say it. The spot doesn't matter to me. It could honestly be any album here. They're all interchangeable. And to be fair, it all still rings true. Anything that I would say could be switched for any Stone Temple Pilots album, any Nirvana album. Just say something grunge related and place any album. So it really doesn't matter. Never mind, whatever. Okay, hear me out. I'm not on weeb shit. But hey, J-Rock is still rock, and it's only fitting to show some respect and representation with Eastern Youth's 1999 album, But seriously, this might be the most divisive album on the list. Not being or speaking Japanese, it's hard to really say what's rock and what's not. Let me explain. Guitar and drums don't just make something auto rock, and not knowing the lyrical content of a song, I'm left with going off song structure and vocal intensity, which led me to this beauty of an album. Post-hardcore and emo to the teeth this one is. It fits so much intensity and heart into a fast 52 minutes, overly brash and raw. It oozes with passions from the moment go, but it doesn't mean it's all gas, with some moodier tracks that nonetheless still brings the same intense feel of a room full of Bald, Sweaty Asian Men. It's a great album. The main reason it's so low is because I don't understand it. Number 13, Pinkerton by Weezer. Okay. I know I said the last one was divisive, but hear me out. Go choke on donkey loafers, you Blue Album lovers, Pinkerton supremacy. No, seriously, I've always viewed the Blue Album and Pinkerton on the same level, at least quality-wise, with Blue having the edge because of how easy, accessible, nostalgic it is, in the sense that it feels like Cheetos or original Lay's. Hard to hate, easy to finish without realizing, leaves you generally okay with yourself. And well, Pinkerton is Fritos. Initially hard, smells like ass, and has an audience who really fucking loves it. So why Pinkerton? Because it easily has the superior deluxe version. Pinkerton always felt more heartfelt. Even before I knew the history of this album, it genuinely blew me to learn that this was generally viewed as a shit album for shitty losers, who were better off being transported to these coordinates on a certain April day 3 years after the release of this album. Well, damn. Number 12. White Trash Heroes by Archer. Released in 1998, White Trash Heroes is the end of the greatest run of indie rock in all of the 90s. Maybe. The Lows, yes, that's what I'm calling them, released pretty consistent alt-rock with minor tweaks that made each album feel different in ways minor yet noticeable. Like their first album, at least in my opinion, feels like a Pavement album by Green Day. But by the end of their run, they were making some of the best unsung party anthems you've never heard. Hailing from Chapel Hill, which is no joke, probably one of the better scenes of the 90s, arguably of course. The album consists of 10 tracks that honestly feels like a bunch of deep cuts from other bands. But make no mistake, it's all quality. Every song is delivered with, the best way I can call it is an unapologetically careless tone and attitude that fits both the sound of the album and the band, which is weirdly electronic adjacent, and the identity of the band. Honestly, I would love to humor the masses and do what I originally set out to do and review the album, but no. I personally think everyone should go check this one out, more so than anything else on this list. And make sure it's the 2012 reissue, because Jive Kata is a gift from the gods and we have sinned for not listening. Number 11, Bake Sale by Sebado. This is a sad boy album for very sad boys. Number 10, Loveless by My Bloody Valentine. My Bloody V, I could have typed that better. Loveless by My Bloody Valentine is the most noise pop album ever. Huh? Noise pop, it's called shoegaze. No, coming out in November of 1991, it marked the end of Britain's reign on the rock genre before America would come through and trailblaze through the rest of the decade with what talk about the album. It's noise pop, nothing more, nothing less. Atmosphere, aesthetic is definitive in this genre, but I still prefer the swirlies. Number 9, 4 Minute Mile by the Get Up Kids. Oh boy, if there's any part of this beautiful list that I know well, it's this, and with that I mean emo. And with that being said, emo peaked in the 90s, the late 90s to be exact. Released in 1997, 4 Minute Mile does everything right and makes sure you know emo should be about screaming at the top of your lungs to something awfully overdramatic about something very pedestrian. With just anthem after anthem on its own, it's hard to not grab your hair dye and the belt with the studs with the little pyramids. You know what I'm talking about. The album itself is nothing special, being that it's the band's first release. So why is it here besides the approach to the sound at the time and charm? This album doesn't really separate them from their contemporaries. It's 2 years removed from that album that would do that. It's giving the edge by not having the goddamn emo album format. Number 8. Lonesome Crowder West by Modest Mouse. This is the definitive travel album, yet another hill I am willing to die on. Listening to this invokes the same feeling as those movie montages where characters travel across the country after leaving the big city. You know what I'm saying? This is that. It's a bit lengthy at around 75 minutes, spanning over 15 tracks, but never once will you feel that time, because it silently keeps it on the gas the whole way through, with even the slowest tracks having this weird silent aggression that seeps through Brock's lyrics and vocals. But beyond the feeling of the endless travel, There's themes of emptiness and religion that come across as casual or pedestrian, like the way it portrays the idea of Jesus as some sort of hitchhiker, but maybe that's just me. Number 7, Self-Titled by Queens of the Stone Age. I don't know what's wrong with you creatures, but this album is perfect. Okay, not really, but it is as good as it gets. It is as good as it gets for the most mid scene of the 90s. Maybe, not a hill I'm willing to die on, but being serious for a second, when doing the minimum requirement that classified as research, I learned Josh Ohm played most of the instruments by himself. Getting into the actual album, it's an amazing freshman effort and is another definitive album of its genre, period. Not being as heavy as the albums that preceded or even the ones before it, it tends to favor a more fuzzy, distorted, almost psychedelic vibe. But with that being said, the album does feel transitionary, but I argue that's where some of the best, well, or worst music is made, and this just happens to be great. Not knowing any Queens of the Stone Age enthusiast IRL, it's hard for me to really grasp how this album is viewed, and I refuse to go on the internet allowing the vultures to feast. So in the comments, only discuss how you love this album. Number 6, Keep It Like a Secret, Built to Spill. Quite like the grunge section of this video, this spot is truly interchangeable, but unlike it was always because of the amount of quality and amazing albums that was produced with this sound in mind. But in the end, I narrowed it down to Built to Spill's 1999 album, which weirdly had a sense of finality to it. I view BTS the same way I view Archers of Love, but with the added advantage that I don't get funny looks after mentioning them. I know I said I narrowed it down to this, but in reality, I already knew it was going on the list. The better question was, which album? Each having a level of grandioseness that only seemed to top the previous. Being blunt, this is a silly, or more accurate, whimsical sounding album, with certain chords sounding cartoonish and just the overall aesthetic being very dreamlike. It's a poppy album, by design of course, and a very open book of an album as well, but who says that's a bad thing? Number 5, Today's Active Lifestyle, Polvo. Another god tier Chapel Hill band, this one being truly unappreciated even in its time. This is a very crafted album. With its constant morphing and constant progressing, it never really settles into one theme. Even in tracks like Time Is On My Side or Tile Break, where there seems to be a set pattern, there's 1,000 little things going on in the background, making it explosively ethereal in a way no other of the decade did. The Asian influence is especially strong on this LP, with info on the creation of this album itself is pretty scarce, so it's pretty hard to really say what the album's process and concept really was, but I don't think that should take away from a great experience, which this is. Number 4, The Bins, Radiohead. So I've spent 30 minutes trying to type out an entry and scrap 3 paragraphs about an album that didn't mention the album it was supposed to be about. Just on a bite-sized mini review, trying to find a way where I don't simultaneously anger or gratify 2 groups in the same damn fan base. But there's nothing that I can do that won't do that, so fuck it. Here it is, The Bins. I think it's the better of Radiohead's 390s album, and I'm serious when I say it's not much different from OK Computer, sonically of course. Being that everything that was planted in OK Computer blossomed Decade 8, it's less impressive in my opinion. I can't do this album any justice here, and I want to utterly destroy the narrative around this masterpiece of an album. But for right now,
The Bends is Radiohead's best album.
Number 3, Soup by Blind Melon. I think at this point, I've abandoned the concept of a genre-based list in favor of what's good, nay, great, or underrated. And being this deep on the list, it's time to pull out a dark horse with Blind Melon's 1995 sophomore album, Soup. I love this band. I love Shannon Hoon. If there's any album I feel represents the 90s as a decade the best, it has to be this album. Being filled with so much nihilism and hope, despite being only number 3 on the list, I think it's a perfect album. It conveys a message in a unique sound, that being a folk jazz blend that sometimes verges on a psychedelic. It's a bittersweet album that brings in the meaning of personal worth and life around. In contrast with these heavy themes, the album's sound is more upbeat than anything, almost like it's concealing the pain behind the lackadaisical style and presentation, which is made all more tragic with the passing of Hoon. This is an all-time favorite of mine, and like all previous entries, I'll probably do a standalone look at it in the future. Number 2, Melancholy and Infinite Sadness, Smashing Pumpkins. This is Billy Corgan's masterpiece. Seriously, no joke. Everything after this feels as if it's just trying to recapture the magic, change up the formula, and put it back out in a way no one notices, all while being a new experience that just doesn't. Not to say that it's all downhill from here, because it's not. And I'm pretty sure half of you expected me to put a door here because you think I'm some sort of contrarian, but no. Wait, I'm talking about MC and IS and not the history of the Pumpkins. So yeah, Melancholy and Inflation Madness is a true work of art. Not to stroke Billy's flaccid ego, but it really is. It managed the rare feat of being both pretentious and no, it's just pretentious through and through, but not without reason or merit. With tracks like Porcelina and Tonight Tonight being these lavish displays of masterful instrumentation sending you off into ballroom fantasies, there's also a dichotomy going on here. Just as there's these beautiful ballad heavy opera influenced songs, there's these ugly heavy distorted chords and electric guitar focused melodies that send you on a journey, which is a nice segue to the fact that this is a concept album, one that I can't really grasp. All the moods in a day, they say. Well, I don't know if I have that many, but nonetheless, it's great. A bloated, cobbled together mess, you say. Shallow and juvenile lyrics, you say. Billy should stop trying to relate to the kids, you say. Well, I think these are all valid. Pack up the bags, boys. But this is where I'm in the video, off at number 2, because the best album of the 90s is just so good it deserves its own video. And yeah, I guess I hope to see y'all there. I don't know what to say. Bye.